Hello, welcome back to Pine City Apiary. I'm Paul, and today I'd like to do a video here that I probably should have done about 5 or 6 months ago, but things happen, but I'm going to do it now. I wanted to talk about our trip that we took to Disneyland. The flight out there was great, no issues at all until we got to Los Angeles, and it wasn't the end of the world, but we had issues with rent-a-car. Now there was a Jerry Seinfeld episode where Jerry went to the rent-a-car place and he had reserved a car and there was no car for him. Yeah, that's what happened to us too. We had reserved a car, no car. So we got an Uber and a Lyft to get all of us to the hotel. The first day there we were just kind of chillaxing, not doing a lot. And then the rest of the week there that we were there, we had plans for every single day. But the video that I want to make today talks about the 7th day, the day that we left. Our flight was to leave at 8 o'clock in the morning, something like that, maybe just before 8. We wanted to be there at least 2 hours before, because that's what they say. I don't know, that's what they told my son. And in order to do that, not knowing Los Angeles traffic, which is normally pretty rotten, we decided we need to be up at 4 o'clock so we can get everybody ready, get on the road by 5. We didn't sleep because we were afraid that we were going to not wake up. So at about 5 o'clock we decided to go ahead, head to the airport. Got to the airport, it's about maybe 5:30ish or so, and we had to sit down to wait for something. I can't remember what it was. I think that my son was getting, we had already checked in, but he had to go get the boarding passes to the machines, the digital ones. I went to plug in my oxygen concentrator because it was, frankly, it was dead. I had over 2 hours, so I wanted to make sure that I had time to get it fully charged, and 2 hours would have done it. We were up at the front and I plugged it in and nothing, wouldn't do anything. So I assumed that there was no power to those seats. Pretty good assumption if they don't work. There was no on or off switch or anything. So I took a mental note of that seats may or may not work. We got our boarding passes. My son had to have his luggage checked, so we got that done for us, and they got us down to the gate. We got there with plenty of time. I mean, they were actually boarding the flight before ours at that time, so we had plenty of time to wait for the flight. And once they got done boarding the flight, the front gate keepers, or I don't know what you call them, but I know what I called them after this, but called them gate Nazis after this whole deal. But once they got done boarding everybody and they were done, they weren't busy, I asked them if there's a place where I could plug in that has power. When you're traveling with medical devices, never ask if you can plug in. Learned that day. The only thing I did wrong was I asked, and then I was told that I had to have a certificate from, I can't remember, certificate printed out for that individual oxygen concentrator. I'm going, what? I flew here and I didn't need it for that. Why do I need it to fly out? They came and they said, no, you're not going to be able to fly. You have to have that certificate, and you also have to have a spare battery because you can't plug in on the airline with a medical device. Okay, that would have been good to know. I didn't know that. So now, before you fly anywhere, remember to never ask questions, and check to make sure if you need certification, and if it requires a battery, you need to bring a spare battery for backup. And they will test that battery too. They will have you prove that your battery is on and fully charged. You'll see a lot of the batteries now, they've got a little test button on the bottom, and they've got lights that flash how charged it is, so you can't fake it. We were told that we were not going to be allowed, or I was not going to be allowed to board the plane, and that got everybody upset. I was trying to talk to the woman and say, hey, look, you guys your company, Delta, flew me here. I had no problems, exact same setup I'm at now, and now you're telling me that I can't fly back home? Wasn't happy. And the gate Nazi, she hunkered down and she said, no way are you flying. You're not flying without a spare battery. We don't know what to do. We're stuck in Southern California. And it came time to board our plane, and Josh, everyone here knows Josh, he and my daughter-in-law and my grandson boarded our flight, and they took off and they flew back home. That was a non-stop flight.
Yep, they're busting out the plane.
We then got, from the gate Nazi, was so nice, she gave us new boarding passes for the next flight out, but we had to have a battery by then. And we'd been calling home oxygen places in the Anaheim, Santa Ana area, and we couldn't get anybody. We couldn't get hold of anybody, and the people that we did get hold of, they weren't interested in helping. So I had a wild idea, maybe if I call my local oxygen company here in Minnesota, that maybe they could do something on their end to make sure that people in California will help us. They called a local company and told me to call them also. So I called them and they said, yeah, we'll get you, we got to get it out of our warehouse. So it might be an hour or so, and we'll get you another battery. So great, we're gonna make the next flight. I called after half an hour because, when they tell you times, they're usually inflating the times, so they can seem like heroes. And they said, no, we haven't found anything yet. They're in our warehouse. It takes some time to get to the warehouse and get back. I said, okay, great. If you can get it from the warehouse and bring it to, we were at John Wayne Airport, Orange County Airport, Santa Ana Airport, and if you can get it and bring it up to the Delta ticket desk, they can get it down to us at the gate. They don't have to go through security and everything, and we don't have to go back up and then come back through security. And then in another half hour, which was an hour from when they said they'd be there, I called them back and they said, haven't heard from anybody yet, but we'll keep looking for you. And then about 10 minutes after that, they called and said, no, we're not going to help you, not going to be able to do it. And that would have been good to know an hour ago. But so we had no battery, no chance of a battery. The next chance to get a battery would be to have one overnighted from the manufacturer. In the meantime, the gate Nazi came back up and she got us a boarding pass for the next day. Let me go back a little bit. Okay. Not scripted. In the meantime, the time came after the company said they weren't going to be able to get there, and my son had to get back home because he worked the next day. He couldn't just hang around waiting. He had to get back home. So I told him to go ahead and go. His mother and I we'll get something figured out. We got we got more flights we can check out. He took one of the boarding passes that the gate Nazi gave us, and he went on board. So now his plane leaves, and it's just my wife and I, two, I don't want to say I'm elderly, but I'm retired. I'm getting up there, and I've also got disabilities. So we're trying to figure out what we're going to do. I looked at the boarding pass that the gate Nazi gave us for the next day, and it says, doesn't say Paul and my wife. It just says me. And then there's also some other kind of secret codes on the thing that I'm sure says that he has to have a spare battery, because she was not going to let me fly back home without a spare battery. So that was not a no-go. So I thought, there's more airlines than Delta. Why don't we take a look, see if we can get on a Southwest, or something, Sun Country, which is a Minnesota airline, just something. So we took a look. Southwest had a flight. The next flight going out was at 3:05, and it was 2-ish at that time, maybe just before 2. So I said, okay, let's go see if we can get tickets on this next flight out of Southwest and get home. It's not a direct flight. It goes through Denver, and then from Denver it goes to Minneapolis. And I'm going, it's kind of a bonus because I've never been to Colorado, so it checks off that box. So we go up there and we have no problems. Sail right through it. We get to the gate. Right as they start boarding the plane, we get on board the plane. We get, it's Delta at that time. I'm not Delta. Southwest at that time. I think they're switching it now, or they're going to. But you sat where you want to sit. It was first come, first serve. And we got seats. The flight attendants, they were really great people, really great, friendly people. They came through and said, hey, we don't have a full load, so you don't have to sit bundled, bunched up. Go ahead and spread out. Take an aisle seat, take a window seat, whatever you want to do. My wife said, I don't want a window seat, so I'll take a window seat. I can use my camera on it. We sat down, I got my GoPro set up, and the guy that runs the Sky connector, majigger, whatever they call that thing, he came walking, he goes, do you post on YouTube? And I told him, yeah, Pine City, April. Anyways, not happy about that at all. I was very down on very down on Delta. I vowed never to fly them again. I vowed to tell everybody that I know my experience, and I asked them to not support a company that would strand 2 elderly people, 1,900 miles, 1,500 miles, whatever it is, away from home. My wife says, you should write a letter to complain. And I said, well, that's not going to do any good. They're not going to do anything. So I let it go for a week. A week after we got back, I decided to look up to see if they had a mailing address for complaints, and they had an email. So I emailed them and told them, what had happened and how we felt about it. We got a message back from them that they were going to take a look at it. And then just a couple days later than that, I got a letter from the supervisor of customer services, or whatever her name was, and she refunded us the tickets that we bought for, the 2 tickets that we bought for but didn't use, and she also reimbursed us the dollar difference between what the price that we would have paid through Delta and the price we actually paid through Southwest. Southwest was more expensive, but we did that day of. We didn't have any kind of promotions on it. Kind of blown away by that. That is excellent customer service, and it makes sense. They're a big company, giving me my money back, a couple $1,000s, whatever it was, is nothing to them compared to what they do internationally. And now I'm not going to complain. Now I feel like I need to make this video because on my previous video about this, I did get kind of snarky with them. So I wanted to make this video to put out that, yes, Delta, they took care of us. So that's my story. I'm going to stick with it. I hope you enjoyed the video, put up with my little ranting, and we hope that you liked the video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and do that. It doesn't cost you anything, and it means a lot to me. Other than that, I appreciate you watching. Thank you very much. Have a great day.